Hello, my name is Jolie. 3 weeks before my wedding, my sister asked to borrow my engagement ring. For a photo shoot, she said. I almost said yes without thinking. That's what you do for family, right? But then Corbin, my fiancé, leaned over my shoulder and said 5 words I'll never forget. Check her Facebook, right now. And that's when everything I thought I knew about trust, about blood, about being the good daughter, started to unravel. She didn't just borrow the ring. She tried to take the wedding, the date, the dress, the venue, even my vows. And the worst part, my family didn't stop her. So I need to ask you, what would you do if your own sister tried to erase you and no one in your family stepped in to stop it? It was one of those Santa Barbara mornings where the sunlight made everything look like it belonged in a lifestyle magazine. I was standing barefoot in my small kitchen, flipping eggs in a cast-iron skillet while humming an old James Taylor tune. Corbin shuffled in behind me, half awake, holding 2 mugs of coffee like they were fragile promises. He handed me one, and we exchanged that wordless kind of smile people have when they know each other's rhythm. I'd been living with Corbin for almost a year. He was the kind of man who always seemed like he knew the answer, but didn't need to say it. Calm, steady. The kind of partner who remembered to get oat milk because you once mentioned your stomach hated cream. We'd gotten engaged 2 months earlier. Nothing flashy. No violinist hiding in a bush or rooftop champagne. Just the 2 of us on the back porch, watching the tide roll in. He looked over and said, "You know it's always been you, right?" I said yes without even blinking. That morning, I was still wearing the engagement ring, simple, vintage, with a small oval diamond that had once belonged to Corbin's grandmother. It wasn't flashy, but it felt like it knew stories. Like it had seen quiet weddings and arguments in kitchens and anniversaries that slipped by without candles. It felt like family. As I plated the eggs and leaned across the counter to grab the salt, my phone buzzed. It was my sister, Isolde. "Hey Joe, any chance I could borrow your ring for a photo shoot? Just for a few hours? Nothing crazy. It's for an art thing I'm submitting to a gallery." I stared at the message for a second. Then again, borrow the ring. I reached for my coffee, suddenly less interested in eggs. Isolde had always had ideas, big ones, experimental music in college, interior design, startup, vegan bakery. Now it was performance art, apparently. She was the kind of woman who made everything look like it came with filters. Her life, her clothes, even her mistakes. And yet, she was still my sister. I'd grown up as the youngest, the one who learned early on that sharing kept the peace, sharing my toys, my space, my silence. Isolde had always been the center of the family's attention. Dad's star girl, Mom's wild one. I was the steady one, the one who didn't need extra help or drama or rescuing. And still, I loved her. Maybe too much. I was about to type back, "Sure, of course," when Corbin's voice sliced through the moment. "Wait," he said, coming around behind me. What was that? I tilted my screen. Isolde wants to borrow the ring for a shoot. His face shifted, like someone turned off the music in his head. The coffee mug stopped halfway to his lips. "Check her Facebook," he said. His voice was low, tight. "What?" He looked at me with a seriousness I hadn't seen since his dad's funeral. "Just check. Right now." The eggs were already cooling on our plates, but I didn't move to eat. There was something in his tone that felt foreign. Corbin was not the jealous type. He didn't hover, didn't question, but now his eyes were fixed on my phone like it had cursed him. I opened the app. Notifications blinked. I scrolled past ads and memes, past high school friends posting baby bump updates. Then I saw it. Isolde, wearing a white dress, not a bridesmaid dress, not a sundress, a gown, strapless, lace, the kind of train that brushes the floor like it's whispering something sacred. Her hair was pinned up in a way that made her look older, regal, almost. In her left hand, she held it out, fingers elegantly curved like a ballerina's. On that hand was a ring, my ring. The same oval diamond, the same antique band, Corbin's grandmother's ring. The caption underneath was just 5 words. "When you know, you just know." I blinked. I checked the timestamp. Posted 20 minutes ago. I didn't say anything right away. I think my mind was trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was a prop. Maybe it was just a filter. Maybe. I zoomed in. The cut was identical. The patina on the band. There was a tiny nick on the side I'd always meant to get fixed. The ring wasn't a prop. It wasn't a dupe. It was mine. My stomach tightened. I felt heat in my chest, but my hands were ice cold. Is that? I didn't even finish the question. Corbin nodded. He'd seen it before me. I stared at the screen. The comments underneath were already piling up. You look stunning, Isolde. Finally. So happy for you. Can't wait to hear the story behind this. There were heart emojis, ring emojis, even a congratulations gif. And me? I wasn't anywhere in the picture, or the post, or her timeline. I looked up at Corbin, unsure of what to say. Everything in my brain was firing at once. My mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. She said it was for a shoot, I whispered. Corbin didn't respond. He looked at me like I was trying to explain thunder to a storm. I read the caption again. When you know, you just know. And suddenly, I didn't know anything at all. I didn't sleep much that night. Even with the windows cracked open and the ocean breeze making its way through the living room, my chest felt too tight, my thoughts too loud. I lay next to Corbin, listening to the distant sound of waves crashing beyond our building, trying to tell myself that what I saw wasn't real, that maybe it had all been a misunderstanding, an elaborate art piece, like she said, a harmless photo shoot, that somehow there was still an explanation I hadn't considered, but deep down, something had shifted. That ring wasn't a placeholder, it was the real thing. And that dress wasn't just similar, it was mine, down to the neckline and the hand-beaded floral applique I had requested 2 months ago. By the time the early light started slipping in through the curtains, I was already wide awake. I sat up slowly, letting my feet find the hardwood floor. The room felt colder than it should have. I found Corbin in the kitchen again, pouring water into the kettle. He looked over his shoulder and offered a tired smile. You didn't sleep, he said. It wasn't a question. I shook my head and reached for my phone. Maybe she'd deleted the post. Maybe this was her way of realizing she went too far and was backing down. I opened Facebook. The post was still there. The likes had doubled. The comments now included a mix of strangers and old friends, all treating it like an engagement announcement. Stunning as always. Wow, what a catch. So happy for you, Isolde. You deserve this. Not a single comment mentioned me. I wasn't tagged, not even hinted at. I clicked over to her page. My name didn't appear anywhere. She had scrubbed it clean. No photos of us together, no memories from the bridal expo we'd gone to, no mention of the custom dress appointment I had brought her along for. Then, just as I was about to close the app, a notification pinged. You've been tagged in a post. I blinked. I tapped it. A graphic appeared, clean and pastel-colored, with cursive fonts that looked like they belonged in a wedding magazine. Save the date. Isolde Corbin, September 10th, 2025, Santa Barbara, CA. I dropped my phone. It landed screen up on the floor with a soft thud. Corbin had just sat down with his mug and looked at me. What happened? I stared at him, jaw tight, as the realization burned through me. She tagged me, I said, in a save-the-date announcement. Corbin didn't respond. He reached for his laptop instead and opened it on the counter, fingers moving with purpose. I retrieved my phone, hands trembling now. She used our date, I whispered. He didn't look up. Let's check the venue. I didn't speak again. I sat across from him and watched as he pulled up our email history with the event coordinator at Rosemont Gardens. We had booked it 8 months ago, non-refundable deposit, locked-in date, guest list confirmed, seating map selected. Corbin scrolled, then stopped. Here, he said. This came in last night. He clicked the message open. Hello, Jolie. Thanks for reaching out. As requested, we've updated the contract to reflect the new bride's name, Isolde Ryan. Let us know if you need anything else changed. My throat dried up. I didn't send this, I muttered. Corbin looked up at me. I opened my own email, scrolled through sent messages. Nothing. No sign of the request, no draft, no trace. He opened another tab, tracking the IP address from the email header. This didn't come from your laptop, he said. It came from a desktop in Palo Alto. Isolde lived in Palo Alto. I stood up and moved toward the windows, arms crossed tightly against my chest. She used my email address, I said. My signature. She changed the contract. This isn't just some quirky art project anymore, Corbin said. She's hijacking our wedding. I turned back to face him. She's hijacking me. He stared at me for a long beat, then nodded. I grabbed my phone and dialed the event coordinator. Hi, this is Jolie Ryan, I said, trying to steady my voice. I booked the September 10th wedding. I need to ask about a change request. The woman on the other end of the line perked up. Oh, yes, we received your email about the bride name update. Everything's been adjusted accordingly. What name did you change it to? I asked, though I already knew. Isolde Ryan, she said. My stomach turned. I didn't send that email, I told her. I never authorized any change. A pause. It came from your account, with the same payment details and booking code. Is there an issue? Yes, I said firmly. A very serious issue. Please do not make any more changes to my booking without direct phone confirmation. I will be sending a formal dispute. I understand, she replied quickly. We'll freeze the file for now. I hung up and sank into the chair beside Corbin. She's trying to erase me, I said slowly, almost like I needed to say it out loud to believe it. Corbin didn't flinch. Then it's time we find out how far she's already gone. I didn't waste time sitting in silence. The moment Corbin left for a client call, I walked straight to my laptop, hands already trembling before they touched the keys. If Isolde had gone as far as falsifying an email, she didn't stop there. My gut told me it was deeper, wider, like something rotten that started in the basement but had already reached the roof. I opened the shared Google Drive folder where we'd planned the wedding together. Corbin and I had spent months curating everything. Venue sketches, seating charts, playlist ideas, catering mock-ups, even color palettes. It was our digital sanctuary, holding every decision that made this wedding ours. But something looked off the second the folder loaded. The thumbnail previews were wrong. The titles had changed. Instead of Jolie Corbin Wedding Mood Board, it now read Fall Elegance Mood 2. Instead of Table Layout, Coastal Theme, it was Modern Traditions, Final. The fonts were different. The edits weren't mine. Some files were missing altogether, and several new ones had been added, ones I didn't recognize. Isolde Vision Board, Floral Story, Ceremony Script Revised. I opened the timeline sheet. The edits were all made after midnight. Last activity marked 2:43 a.m. Corbin, I called from the hallway, can you check the edit history? He was back in a minute, standing over me. It took him 2 clicks to pull up the full activity log. The edits came from a different user. Same IP as the venue email, he said, his voice flat. Palo Alto. I let that sit, then whispered, she's not planning her own wedding. She's rewriting mine. Corbin rested his hand lightly on my shoulder. I didn't move. I couldn't. The idea that she'd gone into our private space, used our trust to replicate our memories, it made my skin crawl. The doorbell rang before I could speak again. I didn't move. Corbin answered. It wasn't anyone in person. It was a delivery, a white envelope, no return address. Inside, a printed photo. Isolde, standing in front of Rosemont Gardens, the venue we had booked. She wore a long white dress, holding a fake wedding program in her hand. I stared at it, trying to make sense of the caption written below in fine cursive. After her. A journey through what could have been. I turned it over. A sticky note clung to the back. Gallery preview. Private submission only. Please, RSVP. My chest tightened. I grabbed my phone, thumb trembling as I pulled up my email. And there it was. Fresh from 30 minutes ago. Hi, Jolie. I know we haven't spoken directly in a while, but I thought you might want to know. Your sister submitted an art piece called After Her for our upcoming exhibit on modern storytelling. It Looks a lot like your wedding plans. She used a ring that looks like yours too. Is that part of your concept? Best, Layla. Layla worked with Corbin's cousin at the museum. That's how I'd met her. I didn't reply, not yet. Instead, I opened Instagram. Isolde's profile was always curated. She never posted randomly. But what I saw this time knocked the wind out of me. An entire album had been uploaded. 20 photos, titled, The One That Almost Was. The first image was her walking barefoot down a rose-petal-lined aisle at Rosemont Gardens. The second was her holding a bouquet that matched mine exactly, blue thistle and dusty rose, the same arrangement I'd handpicked during our florist meeting. Each photo matched something from our wedding plan. The dress was eerily similar. The cake in the background, three-tiered, almond cream with gold foil leafing, our cake. The table setting, same navy napkins with ivory menus I had designed and printed last week. Even the man in the photos, posed at just the right angles, was intentionally blurry. But in one frame, his jawline matched Corbin's. I sat frozen, my fingers numb. There were no captions on most of the photos, except for the final one. It was an open journal, handwritten, with a quote I recognized instantly. Love isn't perfect. It's just choosing each other every day. Those were my words. Words I'd scribbled into my vow draft last month, late at night, when I was too tired to edit but too in love to stop writing. She took everything, my ring, my venue, my aesthetic, my words. Corbin leaned against the wall, arms folded. This is identity theft, I said. He didn't disagree. My phone buzzed again, another tag notification. I didn't open it. I'm not even in the story, I said, voice barely above a whisper. He looked at me, confused. She didn't just steal my plans, I continued. She's telling a story to everyone about a wedding, about a woman, and in her version, I never existed. I stood up and walked into the bedroom, the carpet soft under my bare feet. I opened the top drawer of my nightstand and pulled out the printed draft of my vows, still folded neatly, still untouched. I ran my fingers over the pages, the ink, the paper, the part of me that still felt like mine. She stole the dress. She stole the ring, I whispered. Then, firmer. She won't steal my words. I sat with the printed vows in my lap for a long while, the soft hum of the refrigerator the only sound in the apartment. The air was still, thick, like it was holding its breath. I wasn't sure how long I stayed that way, half upright, unmoving, but eventually I realized I couldn't sit in that silence forever. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and drank it in 3 long gulps. Then I picked up my phone. There was only one person I wanted to hear from. Mom. I hadn't told her anything yet. Not about the venue, the dress, or the email Isolde faked. Part of me hoped that if I said it out loud to her, she'd react with the outrage I didn't know I needed. Maybe she'd tell me I wasn't crazy, that I had a right to be furious, that what Isolde was doing was sick, even cruel. I stepped out onto the balcony. The sun had already set, and the faint pink smudges over the Pacific were disappearing into the black. I hit call. She picked up after 2 rings. Hi, honey, she said softly, like she already knew something was wrong. Hey, do you have a minute? For you? Always. I hesitated, then started talking, just enough to get to the core of it. I told her about the Facebook post, the save the date, the contract changes at the venue. I told her about the wedding folder, the art show submission, the fake album on Instagram. I didn't cry. I spoke calmly, rationally. I didn't even raise my voice. When I finished, there was a long pause. Then she sighed. Jolie, your sister's going through a lot right now. I blinked. I'm sorry? I'm not saying what she did is okay. I just think, maybe let this one go. You're strong. She's not. I felt my chest pull tight. Let it go? I repeated. She's lost so much, Joe. Her job, her reputation. This art thing is the first time she's been excited about something in years. Maybe it's not perfect, but it's helping her. She's impersonating me, I said slowly, trying to keep my voice from cracking. She used my wedding date, my dress, my ring. She didn't actually get married, right? That's your line? Jolie? No. I cut her off. It's fine. Thanks for the clarity. I hung up. I didn't cry, but something inside me hardened. Back inside, I sat down at the edge of the couch. My phone buzzed. I didn't even want to look. But I did. A text from Isolde. It was just a shoot. Don't make it into something it's not. She included a camera emoji. I stared at the screen for a long time, thumb hovering above the reply field. I thought of what I could say, what I should say, but I didn't type anything. I just let the rage simmer. My sister had spent weeks, maybe months, building a fake wedding out of the pieces of my real one. And now she had the audacity to pretend it was performance art. And my mother telling me to let it go, like it was a parking ticket, not my life. My mind slipped into a memory I hadn't thought of in years. I was 7. It was Halloween. I'd spent 2 weeks deciding what kind of candy to buy. I'd finally picked the pumpkin-shaped gummies. Isolde had taken them without asking, swapped them for licorice, then laughed when I cried. I remembered giving her the rest of my candy to avoid a scene. I'd told myself it was easier that way. That was the first time I let her take something from me to keep the peace, and it had never stopped. Not this time. I grabbed a notebook and pen, wrote down every vendor we'd booked. Venue, florist, cake, photographer, stationer. I opened my laptop and pulled up the contact info for each one. I emailed them, casual, polite, but direct. I called the florist. Hi, this is Jolie Ryan. I wanted to confirm my floral arrangement for the September 10th wedding. A beat. Then the woman on the other line said, Oh, right. I thought we already finalized that. With Isabel? My spine straightened. Who? Isabel Ryan. She sent us an update a few days ago. Same wedding date. I kept my voice even. There's no Isabel. That's my event. Do not make any changes unless I confirm them directly. She apologized, said she'd make a note. I thanked her and hung up. Next was the cake vendor. Same thing. She asked for a new flavor, the baker said. Said it was a last-minute change for a close friend. Wanted to switch to lemon chiffon. I gritted my teeth. Go back to the original. And lock the file. One by one, I went through each name on the list. Every one of them had received some form of communication, an update, a tweak, a suggestion, from someone claiming to speak on my behalf. She was replacing me, bit by bit, decision by decision, until nothing left had my name on it. I opened a draft email, typed, If you continue, I will act. I am not disappearing. I stared at it. Then deleted it. You don't warn a thief, you catch them. I created a folder on my desktop called For Truth. Inside, I saved everything. Screenshots of messages, downloaded photos from her Instagram, backups of my original vendor contracts, timestamps from Google Drive edits. I recorded a voice memo for myself. She's trying to take everything, but she forgot one thing. I document everything. I didn't say it for drama. I said it because it was true. She wanted to play games. Let's play. By Friday morning, I had already printed out a spreadsheet listing every vendor involved in our wedding. Color-coded, labeled. I wasn't going to lose track of anything else. Corbin offered to help, but I needed to do this alone, at least the first part. It wasn't just about being organized. It was about taking back control of something that was mine, piece by piece. Around 11, I received a call from my mom. We all need to clear the air, she said, her tone unnervingly upbeat, like she was talking about redecorating a guest room. I waited, unsure of where this was headed. Your father and I are hosting dinner on Sunday. You and Isolde, Corbin too. Just a small dinner, nothing dramatic. We think it would help. Reset things. Reset? Like this was a Wi-Fi router, not my life. Corbin stood in the kitchen when I got off the phone. Let me guess, he said, reading my face. Dinner with the defense team? They think it'll be good for everyone, I muttered. He didn't push, just leaned against the counter and took a sip of coffee. Want to go? I think I need to, I said. I need to hear it from her. Whatever lie she's telling them, I want to hear it with my own ears. Sunday came faster than I expected. The family home was still the same. 2 stories, shutters painted blue, the scent of Mom's roast chicken trailing out the front door. It looked innocent, familiar, safe, which only made the dread in my chest feel more foreign. Isolde was already there when we arrived. She wore white again, casual this time, a soft linen blouse with pearl buttons. Her hair was swept into a low bun. She greeted me like nothing had happened, like I hadn't spent the past week unraveling the mess she made. "Hey, Joe," she said, hugging me before I could step back. "You look good." "You too," I said flatly. Dinner was roasted vegetables, a big green salad, and baked chicken. We sat at the same old wooden table we'd grown up around, the same one where Isolde once carved her initials with a fork when she was grounded. Dad barely spoke. He focused on slicing his meat with robotic precision. Isolde took over the conversation like she always had. Vacations, work, her latest creative project. Every sentence was vague enough to avoid details, but confident enough to sound impressive. Halfway through the meal, Mom leaned forward and smiled. "Isn't it good to have everyone together again?" I didn't answer. "I know there've been misunderstandings," she continued, glancing at Isolde and then at me. "But let's not destroy the family over a few mistakes. We're all human." I set my fork down. "Mistakes?" I asked. Isolde's smile tightened. "Jolie, you used my wedding plans. You used my vendors. You used my date. And you let people believe it was your story to tell." "Okay," she said, raising both hands. "I get that you're upset. But this whole thing, it got bigger than I expected. I didn't mean to..." "Didn't mean to what?" I cut in. "Didn't mean to submit it to a gallery? Didn't mean to tag me in a save the date with my fiancé's name on it? Technically, I never said it was Corbin." I laughed once, sharp and joyless. Mom stepped in. "Let's not escalate, okay?" Dad finally looked up. "It's just a dinner." No one said sorry. No one said, "You're right." They just wanted the noise to stop. Wanted me to stop making it. Afterward, Corbin and I left quietly. I didn't say goodbye. Neither did Isolde. Back at our apartment, I peeled off my shoes and sat down on the edge of the couch. I hadn't even taken my earrings off when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, until the message preview showed one line. "I've been where you are." I opened it. "I don't know you, but I used to date Corbin, and I thought you deserved to know. Your sister did this before, 2 years ago, tried to copy our wedding, claimed she was doing a mock ceremony for a design client. I left him over it, thinking it was him. It wasn't. Attached was a screenshot. It showed a wedding folder, same structure as mine, different names. But the design style, the tone, the color codes, identical. She'd been recycling the same plan." I turned to Corbin, who was drying dishes in the kitchen. "Hey," I called softly. He looked over. "Yeah?" I held out the phone. He scanned it, paused, and then sighed. "That was Lauren. She and I were together a while. It ended when Isolde got too involved. I didn't know how bad it got for her." "So this isn't new," I said. "No," he admitted. "I just didn't think she'd go this far." I stared at the screen again. My mind wasn't spinning this time. It was still clear. "She does this to prove something," I said. "To replace someone else's life with hers, and people let her." "Not anymore." I stood up, walked to the dining table, and pulled out the folder marked Contracts. Corbin raised an eyebrow. "What are you doing?" "I'm done asking for permission," I said. I picked up my phone and dialed Rosemont Gardens. The call to the venue was short. I didn't need to repeat myself. The moment I confirmed my name, reservation code, and spoke with the same coordinator I had emailed months ago, I told her, "From this point forward, no changes can be made without my voice on the phone. No emails, no proxies, no exceptions." She sounded startled but agreed. I didn't explain why. I didn't owe her a story. I needed a lock on my life. That afternoon, Isolde sent a message. "Can we talk? Just the two of us? No drama, I promise." There was no apology, no acknowledgement of what she'd done, just that same calculated calm she always used when she wanted something and didn't want to admit it. I stared at the message for a full minute. Then I texted back, Sure, you pick the place. She suggested a cafe in Montecito. Quiet, upscale. A place where the servers all wear matching linen aprons and latte art matters more than the coffee. It was the kind of spot she would choose, where appearances mattered more than the conversation. Corbin watched me get ready. I wore a dark dress, clean, pressed. No makeup, just balm. My hair tied back. When I picked up my purse, he asked gently, "You good?" I nodded. "I'm ready." What I didn't say was that inside the purse was a small voice recorder, tucked into the front pocket like lip balm. At home, I'd activated a remote sync on my laptop, just in case anything else changed in the shared wedding folder while I was gone. The sun was just beginning to set as I parked outside the cafe. Gold light spilled across the sidewalk. It felt cinematic, which made me hate it more. Isolde arrived 7 minutes late. She always made you wait just enough to remind you she was important. She wore a soft ivory blouse, tucked into high-waisted pants, lip gloss, stud earrings. A performance. She smiled like we were meeting for a catch-up between sisters who'd grown apart but never fought. "Thanks for coming." I sat across from her. "Let's just talk." We ordered. She asked for wine. I asked for water. Once the waiter left, she exhaled and looked at me with faux sincerity. "Look, I know things have gotten weird. Have they? I didn't expect it to blow up like this. I really didn't. I just needed something for the gallery submission, and the story was there. I used what I had. I didn't think it'd make you so upset." "You used my wedding," I said flatly. She waved her hand, brushing it off like she was swatting a fly. "It's not like you own the idea of a wedding." "No," I said, keeping my voice even. "But I do own the date, the vendors, the venue, the guest list, the vows. The dress, the ring." She took a sip of wine. "It was just an art project, Joe. Come on, you've always been the serious one. I'm the expressive one. You know that." I stared at her. "Why Corbin?" She blinked. "What? You could have used a random name. Why choose my fiancé's name on the save the date?" She looked down at her glass, turning it slowly between her fingers. "You always get everything, Jolie. Everything. Since we were kids, the grades, the friends, the trust. You were the good one. I was the screw-up." "That wasn't my fault." "No," she said, "but I wanted them to see you crack. Just once. To see you not be perfect. And you did. The minute you started flipping out about that ring, they started seeing it. That maybe you're not as stable as everyone thinks." My chest went tight. I stayed silent, letting her keep going, because I needed her to say it all. She leaned in, eyes sharper now. "I never wanted to be you, Joe. I just wanted to show them that maybe you're not so untouchable." I nodded. "That's all I needed to hear." She blinked. "What?" I stood up. "Enjoy the wine, Isolde." She looked confused, a flicker of panic passing behind her eyes. "Wait, what does that mean?" But I was already leaving. Back in the car, I drove straight home. My hands were steady, my heart was not. As soon as I got inside, I walked to my laptop and opened the wedding folder. It was gone, not deleted, replaced. The cover image had been swapped. Where once it said Jolie Corbin, it now said Isolde's Dream Wedding. New folders had been added. The files I created were renamed or overwritten. The guest list? Deleted. Vendor contracts? Corrupted. Titles changed. I checked the activity log. All edits, 1:14 p.m. while I was in that cafe. I sat down, let it all wash over me, not as anger this time, as calculation. I opened a new folder on my desktop and named it Legal Prep. Inside it, I dropped the audio recording. I copied over the screenshots I'd taken the night before. I archived the emails, the save-the-date graphic, the file edit history. She thought she was winning because she moved fast. She forgot that I don't move until I'm certain. I opened the recording, hit play. "I wanted them to see you crack." Her voice was clear, crisp. The audio was perfect. I minimized the player and opened a document. If she wanted to play this game publicly, I was ready to play it legally. My fingers began to type. By Saturday morning, the audio file was already backed up in 3 separate folders and stored on a flash drive in Corbin's sock drawer. next to old cufflinks he hadn't worn in years. I'd transcribed every word of Isolde's confession. Nothing edited, nothing polished. Just her, unfiltered, laying out the truth in her own voice. I didn't share it. Not yet. That kind of weapon, once released, couldn't be taken back. But I wanted her to know I had it. So I did what she would never expect. I went quiet. That silence lasted only 36 hours. By Sunday night, Corbin called me from the hallway. "You need to see this," he said, holding out his phone like it had just bitten him. I took it. My stomach twisted before I even looked. Isolde had posted a video to her social accounts, Instagram, Facebook, even LinkedIn for good measure. It was over 10 minutes long, the title, "The Truth About What Really Happened." I clicked play. There she was, sitting in soft lighting, eyes glassy. Her makeup was just barely smudged, enough to look human but still flawless. She began with a sigh, the kind people make when they want you to know this is hard for them. "I never imagined I'd have to make this video," she said, voice trembling. "But when you love your family and they turn their backs on you, when your own blood won't support your healing, you realize some truths need to be told." She talked about losing herself after her breakup, about falling into depression, about the art project that helped her climb out. "I used elements of a wedding," she explained, "because I was mourning a future I thought I'd have." Then came the kicker. Some people don't support healing. Even family, especially family. The screen faded to a clip, soft piano music underlaying footage of her trying on dresses. One of them was mine. My custom dress, the one I sketched with the boutique owner in downtown Santa Barbara. The same sheer sleeves, the same delicate lace across the back. She smiled at herself in the mirror like it was hers all along. I stared at the screen, numb. The comments rolled in. "You're so brave." "I'm crying. Thank you for sharing your journey." "This is art. Don't let anyone silence your voice." They didn't know the context. Of course they didn't. She gave them a story, one where she was the wounded bird and I was the storm. An hour later, my dad called. I let it go to voicemail, but curiosity got the better of me. I listened. "Hey, honey," he began, his voice lighter than it should have been. "Just wanted to say, your sister looked amazing in that dress she picked. Honestly, it looked just like the one you showed me months ago." "She must have been paying attention, huh?" I pressed my thumb to the side of the phone, ending the call before it finished. "She was paying attention," I muttered. Corbin looked over from the kitchen. "What happened?" "My dad just congratulated Isolde on my dress," I said. "He thinks she designed it." Corbin shook his head. "He doesn't know." "He doesn't want to know," I replied. "That's the difference." The next morning, I sent a single message into the family group chat. "I designed that dress." She copied everything. One aunt responded with a heart emoji. No one else said a word. 2 hours later, a private message came in from my mother. "Let's not make this worse." No acknowledgement, no apology, just another plea for silence. That afternoon, I took a deep breath and started my own work. I opened my private video platform account, uploaded a 5-minute video, simple, quiet, time-stamped, and filled with factual evidence. I didn't add music, I didn't wear makeup. I spoke directly to the camera. "This is not about art," I said in the video. "This is about identity. And when someone copies your life down to the ring on your finger and calls it their healing, that's not inspiration. That's theft." I listed the vendor invoices, screenshotted her edits to my wedding folder, included the save the date graphic. I made the video unlisted, then sent it directly to the gallery curator via email. After that, I filed a copyright claim on Instagram, on my original dress sketches, my custom vow book cover, the design template for our wedding website. I didn't want attention, I wanted boundaries. Late that night, I sat down to write. I addressed the letter to the gallery's leadership team. Calm, precise. I explained the context of "the sister who wasn't" and attached the necessary documentation. Before bed, I took out the trash, flipped off the porch light, and paused at the front door when I saw the envelope. No postage, no address. Just slipped under the mat. Inside, a printed flyer. Isolde Ryan presents The Sister Who Wasn't an Immersive Journey Through Identity, Estrangement, and Art. The date? 1 week away. The location? The gallery downtown. The tagline in bold, inspired by real events. I stared at it for a long time, then folded it, tucked it into a drawer, and whispered to no one in particular. She wants war? She's got it. The week leading up to the gallery show passed in a blur that moved both too fast and unbearably slow. Each hour felt like it belonged to someone else. My sleep became a polite suggestion rather than a necessity. My thoughts were sharp but steady, like the edge of a knife dragged across glass. I checked my email religiously, expecting a cease and desist. I scanned my texts compulsively, half dreading and half hoping for a dramatic apology, maybe even a voice memo if she was feeling brave. But nothing came. What did come was worse. On Wednesday night, I made the mistake of opening Instagram. I told myself I wouldn't. I told myself I had nothing left to learn from her digital gallery of curated tragedy and aesthetic betrayal. But I scrolled anyway. There it was. A black and white photo of Isolde in a vintage clawfoot tub, knees hugged to her chest, eyes cast away from the lens like she was waiting for the light to find her. Beneath it, a caption in lowercase, "Love isn't perfect. It's choosing each other, even when it's hard." My breath caught. That was mine. Word for word, a sentence I had written months earlier. On the back of a folded piece of paper I'd slipped into Corbin's travel bag before his work trip to Seoul. I remembered the way he'd texted me a photo of it when he found it. The way he'd said it made him feel anchored. Now here it was, detached, recontextualized, undermined, posted beneath a stylized, filtered image of my sister. No credit, no tag, just stolen. I tried to breathe through it. Then I saw the next post. Another black and white. This one a close-up of a hand resting on an open book. The fingers elegantly draped over the spine. The caption? "He wasn't mine, but the silence he left behind was." My hands went still. I'd written that in a letter to Corbin during the first real fight we'd had, the one where I'd walked out mid-sentence, the one where I'd cried on the floor of the laundry room because I didn't want him to hear me break. Isolde had been there that night. She'd heard parts of the aftermath. At some point, she must have found that letter, or taken a photo of it, or memorized it. I stood in the center of the living room and said it aloud because otherwise I would have screamed, "She didn't just steal the dress. She stole my voice." Corbin looked up from the couch. His book was open on his chest, but he hadn't turned a page in half an hour. "What?" he asked. I turned to him. "She's quoting me. My letters." My vows, my handwriting, packaged into captions and mood boards. He stood slowly, walked over to where I was standing. "You don't have to go through with it," he said gently. "You've already shown the truth. To me, to yourself. Isn't that enough?" I shook my head. "No," I said. My voice didn't shake. "She wants an audience? Fine. She'll have one." The next morning, I got to work. I printed everything: screenshots, captions, metadata, email receipts, PDFs of my original wedding planning folder, timestamps, the gallery flyer, the save the date, my own handwritten drafts, a transcript of the voice memo I'd recorded at the cafe, the audio file itself. Corbin helped me load it all onto a flash drive. Then we made 3 copies. One stayed with him, one went in my purse. The last went into a sealed envelope addressed to my attorney. We didn't talk much that day. There was nothing left to say. I wasn't grieving. I was preparing. By 7 that evening, I walked into the gallery with my head high and my spine unshakable. The venue was nestled into a corner of downtown Santa Barbara, all exposed brick and iron beams, industrial, intentional, designed to impress without looking like it was trying. A catering table lined the right wall, delicate canapes, tiny tomato skewers, cucumber slices shaped like teardrops, mocktails served in glassware, thin enough to shatter under a strong opinion. I wore black. Not because I was in mourning, but because it sharpened my presence. Simple, clean, intentional. I didn't want to compete with her theatrics. I wanted to undercut them. Isolde, of course, was already there. Dressed in ivory this time, not quite white, but close enough to draw a line between performance and pretense. her gown draped over her shoulders like something from a minimalist bridal catalog. She stood near the center of the room, wine glass in hand, laughing that soft, curated laugh she'd perfected over years of knowing when the camera was on. The guests hovered like planets in orbit. Art collectors, trust fund creatives, minor influencers, and 2 or 3 gallery staffers who looked like they hadn't slept in days. I stayed back. I waited. The room was decorated with blown-up photos on stretched canvas, some layered with text, my handwriting, traced and mimicked from old notebooks and journals she'd found in my storage bin, phrases repurposed like lyrics sampled from an old track, just enough to sound familiar, just enough to look original. Titles like Inheritance, She Left Me Behind, The Real Bride. It wasn't just betrayal. It was plagiarism dressed in linen. After 15 minutes, I made my move. I walked to the media station tucked into the back corner, where a young technician stood behind a laptop and a short-throw projector. "Excuse me," I said, calm and direct. "May I share something from the artist's family?" He looked startled. Are you listed as part of the exhibit?" "I'm part of the inspiration," I said. "That's what matters." He blinked, but he didn't stop me. I handed him the flash drive. "Just play this," I said. "No intro, no visuals, just the audio." He plugged it in. The screen went black. The music faded. Conversation stalled. Then, over the gallery speakers, Isolde's voice. "You always get everything, Jolie. Everything. Since we were kids, the grades, the friends, the trust. You were the good one. I was the screw-up." A ripple of silence. Then, "I just wanted to show them that maybe you're not so untouchable." Glass broke somewhere. A quiet gasp, a murmur rising like a tide. I didn't move. I didn't smile. The recording was just under 2 minutes. There was no voiceover, no edits, just her, speaking her own confession, the same words she never thought would leave her throat again. When it ended, silence stretched. 10 seconds, maybe more. Then the gallery erupted, not in chaos but in whispers. People turned, phones lifted, eyes snapped between her and me like a tennis match of truth. I walked out without another word. I didn't need applause. I didn't want it. I wanted my name back. Outside, the evening air was cool, the scent of the sea drifting through the palm trees lining the street. I took a deep breath. Through the glass door, I could still see Isolde, frozen mid-step, lips parted, mask slipping. The last line of her voice echoed through my memory as I turned the corner, heels clicking against the pavement like punctuation. I didn't steal anything. I just didn't want to lose again. And maybe she hadn't lost. But I had won. My voice, my story, my truth, unfiltered, unforgiven, unforgettable. 3 weeks after the gallery incident, the headline finally ran in the Sunday arts section of the Santa Barbara Daily. It wasn't loud, no bold type, no dramatic pull quotes or blistering editorials, just a clean, quiet line beneath a photo of the gallery's dimmed lights and shuttered front door. Sister's confession hijacks art opening. They didn't need to spell it out. The article didn't dwell on my name. It didn't have to. The audio had already circulated, clipped into TikToks, and embedded in anonymous blogs. The journalist had done their homework, quoting elements of Isolde's exhibit, cross-referencing her themes with public wedding planning records that bore my name. They even mentioned the timestamps, the ones showing her "save the date" was designed a full month after my booking confirmations. Quiet, undeniable evidence, subtle as footnotes, damning as fingerprints. The gallery issued a formal statement the next day. Due to unresolved intellectual property concerns, the exhibit has been closed indefinitely. We apologize to those affected and will review our internal approval process moving forward. Corporate speak for, "We backed the wrong twin." 2 days later, Isolde deleted everything. No warning, no explanation, just gone. Her Instagram vanished first. Then her personal website redirected to a 404 page. The curated portfolio she'd spent years cultivating, slideshows of self-portraits, moody candids, faux confessionals shot in soft light, evaporated. No new uploads, no cryptic stories. Silence. I thought it would feel like justice. I thought I'd feel triumphant, vindicated. Instead, it felt like walking through an empty hallway after a fight. The echo of what was said still hovering. The weight of what wasn't, heavier. A few days later, my phone buzzed. A voicemail from Mom. I didn't need to check the number. I recognized the cadence of her voice before I even pressed play. "We didn't know," she said. Her voice cracked slightly. "She needs help. We thought she was just being dramatic. We didn't think she'd go that far." I deleted the message before it finished. I didn't need a rewritten history. I didn't need empathy retrofitted for convenience. What I needed, what I had always needed, was for someone to believe me the first time. And Corbin had. The following Saturday, we got married. Same venue, same date, same time, Rosemont Gardens. Only this time, everything was locked down. Vendors were confirmed by phone and by name. IDs checked. Passwords used. No surprises. Our wedding folder had more layers of protection than some Fortune 500 data centers. We reprinted the menus, double-checked the cake design. Corbin and I customized every place card ourselves, sitting side by side for hours, choosing fonts and spacing like it meant something. Because it did. We invited only 30 people, no hashtags, no speeches, no live stream, just a garden caught in the first blush of fall, a breeze soft enough to carry the veil without stealing it, and the man waiting at the altar, eyes steady, jaw clenched only slightly in the way he did when emotion threatened to spill over. He looked at me like he knew every battle I'd fought to arrive at that moment, and he loved me not in spite of them. Because of them. I wore the dress I designed, the real one. I held the vows I wrote, the ones she couldn't twist, couldn't echo, couldn't make hers. And as I walked down the aisle, there was no duality, no confusion, no one else standing in the spotlight pretending to be me. The air belonged to me again. After the ceremony, we stayed for cake and quiet photos beneath the string lights. We didn't toast. But we didn't pose for endless candids. We had one dance, just one, beneath a canopy of golden bulbs and fading sunlight. Our hands clasped together, not because we needed to perform love, but because we had built it, moment by moment, in rooms no one else had seen. That night, when we returned home, I kicked off my shoes by the door and laughed when I saw the envelope waiting on the front step. Legal stationery. No return address except a P.O. box I'd seen once before. I didn't even need to open it to know. But I did anyway. Inside was a single sheet of paper. No greeting. No signature. Just one line, typed in bold serif font. I hope you're happy now. I folded the letter once, walked to the bedroom closet, and slid it into a small box labeled Things I've Survived. It sat beside my first name tag from a college cafe job, the lease agreement from the apartment I couldn't afford after Dad stopped answering my calls, and a faded photograph of me and Isolde from our 12th birthday, back when we still looked like sisters, back when the rivalry hadn't yet become survival. That night, Corbin and I walked barefoot down the beach, shoes in one hand, his fingers interlaced with mine in the other. The sand was cool and damp, curling around our toes. The ocean whispered like it always had, never asking for permission to return. It simply came back, again and again, unapologetic. I watched the waves for a long time. Then I said it, out loud, finally. Family isn't blood. It's trust. Corbin didn't say anything. He just tightened his grip around my hand, grounding me, anchoring me, silently agreeing. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel the urge to explain myself. I didn't need to justify the boundaries I'd drawn or the pieces I'd reclaimed. I didn't need an audience or a caption or a carefully worded update. I just needed this. Quiet, steady, true. I lost a sister, but I found myself. And in the end, that was the vow I'd been waiting to keep all along. Sometimes, the deepest betrayals come not from strangers, but from the ones who share our last name. This story wasn't just about a stolen wedding. It was about the cost of silence and the courage it takes to reclaim your voice when even your own family won't stand beside you. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you loved because staying meant losing yourself? If this story resonated with you, drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful, real-life family stories every week.